webinar on leveraging social media for employer branding. I'm Savita from People Matters and would take you through the agenda for today's webinar. First of all, I'd like to give you a brief on the Tier Leadership League. We have the Tier Leadership League, which is an initiative specially designed for the tier leaders, helping them take recruitment to the totally next level. This league is a combination of a bunch of activities like the newsletters, webinars, half-day events, and the awards. We'll tell you more about the full-day conclave at the end of the session. We have the privilege of having with us Zenobia Madan, Head Talent Acquisition, Philips India, and Gautam Ghosh, General Manager, HR Strategy and Projects, Philips India. To give you a brief on today's webinar, we will focus on the what and the why of social media in employer branding, and it will cover focus points such as what is the need to go, why is the need to go for social media for branding an employer brand, social media tools and its role in driving a positive employer brand, the challenges and opportunities, the Philips case of leveraging social media in employer branding. A little about today's speakers. Zenobia is currently leading the Talent Acquisition Center of Excellence and champions all employer branding initiatives for Philips India. Prior to Philips, Zenobia has worked with organizations like Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. Talent acquisition, HR business partnering, mergers and acquisitions, and HR transformations are few of the many roles that she has been working on. Is in charge of HR strategy and projects for Philips India and is based out of Gurgaon. He is responsible for helping the HR India team drive the HR strategy by leveraging technology and building the digital capability in Philips India. This is for today's webinar. For helping us make this program possible are Principal Partners, CEB's SHL Talent Measurement Solutions. CEB's SHL includes proven science-based assessments, benchmark data, technologies, and consultancy services that help organizations assess, select, and develop the right people for the right roles. We have knowledge in our tier partner, PeopleStrong. PeopleStrong is a leading HR outsourcing company specializing in the HR shared services, recruitment, payroll, and compliance management, and the HR technology solutions. With a pan-India presence, they provide services to global players across industries. And we have, as an associate partner, Cornerstone On Demand, which is a global leader of cloud-based talent management software solutions. Cornerstone empowers some of the world's leading organizations such as Starwood Hotels and Resorts and many, many such more to engage their workforces and leverage people performance for greater business results. We have saved time for you to ask for your questions at the end of the webinar. For those watching it live, you can submit your questions at any time during the presentation through the Q&A section which is on your webinar screen. We will try to respond as many questions as time allows. We have an exciting session through the webinar today, so without any further delay, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Gautam. Over to you, Gautam.
Thanks, Savita. So welcome everybody. Good. So glad you could join us. So if you are following us on Twitter, there is Zenobia and my Twitter handle, and as we said, it's kind of focusing on how do you actually leveraging social media for employer branding in your organization. Social in India has been growing by leaps and bounds. This is a slide by Ethnos Consulting, which was a couple of months ago, give or take a few million. Facebook now has more than 114 million people in India who have regular accounts. Twitter has 33 million. LinkedIn has over 20 million people, and Google Plus, Pinterest, Tumblr, SlideShare, kind of all bring up the rear. YouTube has 54 million viewers. So essentially, these numbers are showing us that social networking in India is growing by leaps and bounds. And the thing is, as a percentage of our population, it is amongst the lowest in the world. So while social networking growth is growing in most parts of, is stagnating in most parts of the world, in India it has huge scope for growth. And by 2017, it's estimated that India will have more than 282 million people who are logging onto various social networking sites. More and more, it's being driven by increasing mobile usage, so it's not just social on the desktop. A lot of people, for example, my mother, have actually logged on to Facebook for the first time on their mobile. And it's teenagers anymore, it's people of all age groups who are kind of driving this growth. And it's also about saying, hey, this is where most of today and tomorrow's talent is spending most of its time. How do we really get their attention? Next slide, you can see that time will pass in the next 7-8 years. India will have the most demographic dividend when it comes to the number of talent and the median age, and China, which is currently kind of on their going down in median age and the working age population. Going up in median age and going down in working age population. So, as an organization, as a country rather, India will become the source for talent supply, not just for Indian firms or MNC firms working out of India, but increasingly for the global talent supply chain. Who is this new age talent? Well, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, whatever different names you call them, are people who are optimistic and confident. So they've kind of grown up in the 1990s, post-liberalization. They haven't seen, too much poverty or shortages. So they have grown up, therefore, and they've grown up with technology. Digitally, they are natives. A lot of, for example, there's this interesting anecdote I'd like to share about a 1-year-old who was 1 year younger than when the first iPad was introduced, and he picked up a coffee table book one day in his house, and he could hardly crawl and hardly speak, and he would try to swipe the pictures from the cover page of the coffee table book, and was kind of disturbed that the pictures did not move. And that's the expectation of these people, that technology is their way of life. They're entrepreneurial. They would like to start their own things. I've seen a lot more over the last 7-8 years, technical B school graduates taking the entrepreneurial route. The availability of venture capital as well as angel funding is fueling that. They're not too much thinking about the future. The focus is on the here and now, learning and eager to learn more. The focus is not on learning in the classroom. The focus is on developing their skills during the course of natural conversations, as and when they come across content. And they don't subscribe to the issue of hierarchy like our generation did. They like to engage with people on a one-to-one basis, irrespective of however experienced or gray hair a person has. Challenges and opportunities for this group of talent. I'd like to now hand over the mic to Zenobia to take you through these.
Thanks, Gautam, and good morning, everyone. So I think, Gautam has very well described to us, what this new age talent is looking like. And, to bring context to that, why is employer branding critical? So although we are hearing a lot more about, the criticality and importance of employer branding in the recent past few years, it is a concept which has been there much longer. But increasingly, given the type of organizations, we are transitioning into, with global roles, based out of any geographies, handling virtual teams which may be spread across multiple countries, etc., it is becoming even more important for organizations to really focus on building the employer brand, so that they instill a sense of pride for both, their internal audience, which is the employees that, they have, as well as to the prospective talent, who they would like to, engage with and attract at some point of time. So, even a recent research done by LinkedIn, sometime last year, amongst, HR and talent acquisition professionals, across the globe, got evidence to the fact that 81% of us agreed that the employer brand has a significant impact on our ability to hire great talent, and that increasingly today, more and more organizations are making employer branding a top priority for their organization. Moving on, if we were to, then look at what's the most effective way, of going about employer branding, it brings us to, the point around our employer value proposition, which I'm going to talk about in my next slide. The EVP, what we call as an employer value proposition, is, the core of any organization in terms of who they stand for and, what they would like themselves to be seen as, internally within, their organization, as well as to the talent outside. Got the next slide, please. And hence, when we, look at the employer value proposition, it comprises, of three key things. What is the perception of the brand? What is the image that of ourselves as an employer that we would like to have with our target group, and what is the reality of the brand, which people perceive it as, no matter whether we are in the room talking about it or not. And like most of us know, the employee value proposition is actually when the three of these, the perception, the image, and the reality of our employer brand intersect, and it is that common intersection that helps us actually bring out effectively in terms of who we are, what our value proposition is, and who we would like to be seen, by everyone around us. And there are a lot more details we can get into maybe at a later stage in terms of what are the advantages of having an effective employer value proposition. And, with organizations who may have a presence in one or more industries, and they may be looking at different segments, of talent, the employer value proposition also does not have to be something that fits all. So there are organizations that have very effectively come up with propositions that are very simple yet very eye-catching, and which are applicable, to them across their various talent segments. And there are some who have chosen to, take the EVP a level lower and actually segment it and tweak it to actually be able for it to relate very effectively to the different talent pools. And we may choose to segment them geographically, or by the businesses that we operate in, or basis the different aspects of the talent pool that we have. So moving on, if we know that, we need to have a very strong employer brand and we would like to bring it out, gone are the days when we had just a couple of channels through which, we could actually bring this about. So recruiting teams in the past used to use, a lot of print media or advertising campaigns to kind of get the message across to their talent. But today there are multiple channels available for us to actually leverage in terms of communicating our employer brand to our target segments. So this is a recent research which Universum did. It's a little dated, a few years back, where they asked, what were the top three most effective communication channels to promote one's employer brand. And of all the channels that you see mentioned here, research showed that 24% of the audience said that social media was one of the most effective ways to express one's employer brand, followed by the company's corporate website, and then there are various events and a lot of other forums like employee referrals, on campus activities, videos, etc. that can be leveraged. And hence, I think this just brings us, links very well with the session that we are having today in terms of we're going to talk to you about how, we as Philips India have leveraged social media, and it's such an effective medium to actually amplify your efforts in employer branding. Moving on. So, for example, when we look at the digital media, which is across multiple channels, it is your culture that actually is your employer brand, and all your employees are your brand ambassadors. Because gone are the days when, we could hold a couple of people or the leadership team just responsible for actually communicating the employer brand. Today, each one of us, in whatever capacity we may be in our organization, represent the employer brand, and we are brand ambassadors of what the organization stands for. For example, with the advent of social media, whether you like it or not, people are out there questioning, how is it like working in your organizations. For example, here's an example of an individual who just tweeted out, increasingly we also hear, candidates waiting during interviews and just tweeting out something really good or something they didn't like about their whole experience. So with the advent of social media, it's got a little more transparent, it's got a little more vocal in terms of there being multiple avenues where candidates and employers can leverage this medium to actually have open discussions and share what people think about your employer brand. Moving on, there are also, the other day someone shared with us jokingly that there are sites like LinkedIn and Glassdoor and JobBuzz, etc., where whether you like it or not, they have more information about you and your employees than even HR teams might have. So yes, that's the reality of life today. There are lots of forums like Glassdoor, JobBuzz by Times Jobs, etc., where it's an open platform. People can voice their views. They can rate different aspects of a company from how well they are seen in terms of compensation, to what their culture is like, to policies, to the kind of leadership they have, and it's all out there in the open. People bases their experience. It could be over an interview or over an interaction over an external forum. These sites make it very transparent for people to actually express what they thought of you as an employer, and help others who may be considering joining you now or in the future to actually go there and see what the larger audience thinks about you as an employer. Hence, with social media, it has as a platform, it has made it very, very transparent for talent to actually get to know more about organizations than what they would in just a one-on-one interview or by spending a few minutes with an organization. But these are multiple other touch points that today are available for all of us to actually go and find out more about an organization before someone may choose to join them or interact with them or do business with them. So now what we'll do is, shift gears and talk to you a little bit about the Philips India story and, try and share with you our experience, what it has been trying to leverage social media for our employer branding efforts for Philips as an organization. So over to you, Gautam.
So the Philips HR journey in social started almost a year ago. When we started our Facebook page. We kind of lost our way for the first 3-4 months, figuring out how to leverage this medium, what exactly to do on it. But I think we figured out that it's not about the tools. It's, as Zenobia earlier mentioned, it's about the kind of talent and therefore the places that they spend time with, and how do we message and reach out and build conversations with them. So these are some of our key employer branding initiatives. Fostering leadership in youth is essentially targeted at understanding what school students today feel about careers, who actually shapes their career decisions, and this is a research that is on, and the results would be shared in the Q1 of next year via social media and traditional media also. We also realized that all said and done, we are still dependent a lot on our talent acquisition partners, and therefore we need to kind of figure out a way in how to actually enable them to share our story with candidates. So we actually had a talent acquisition partners meet, and a lot of them have actually joined Twitter after trying to seeing that how gung-ho we were on social. There's a whole campus engagement piece that we do typically around a case study competition, which also is a talent feeder to our B school recruiting efforts, and we'll talk a little more in detail about that. As a HR group, we've taken a actually lead over the rest of the organization in having a social media presence. So we have we'll talk a little more about that in the next few slides, and Zenobia will talk a little more about details about two specific initiatives, that is Blueprint and Campus Journos. And I'm not sure how many of you follow the Philips HR Talks. It's our way of trying to give back as a platform, become a platform for knowledge sharing. And in the past, luminaries like Anand Pillai, Vivek Paranjpe, Kavi, and others have come to that platform, shared their knowledge and experience, and all this is available for free on YouTube. If you search for YouTube with the phrase Philips HR Talks, you will find all the videos there. We also have had past winners of People Matters are even the list, Young Leaders Award, discussing their learnings and journeys over the last couple of years with Yashwant, our Senior VP of HR. Interestingly, this is a bit of LinkedIn has, Philips has 3 talent-focused LinkedIn groups. One is innovations in marketing, one is here innovations in health, and another is innovations in lighting. So essentially, these are communities of practice that Philips is thing where we just want, these are not job posting groups. We essentially want our hiring managers and subject matter experts to interact and share the knowledge with worldwide talent who are interested in these specific areas, healthcare, lighting, and marketing. And the focus is not for talent acquisition or recruiters or HR professionals to be active here. It's to get our line managers, people who will do hiring, to figure out, hey, here are some interesting conversations that somebody is triggering. Would this person be a great value addition to Philips? And that is while the group has been started by the various talent acquisition and marketing professionals, the focus is on building a community of practice rather than a database. This is the Facebook page that we in India run as an employer branding initiative, and so essentially the audience here is more around B school and campus participants, while a few of our employees are also audience, but the messaging and the conversation out there is around our B school initiatives, everything from the summer internships to campus placements and our various case study and other contests that we have for B school students that are showcased there. So as a conscious decision, we have chosen to use Facebook for engaging with that audience here. Philips India HR Twitter account started around, I think, 8 to 9 months ago, essentially to engage with fellow HR professionals and other laterals on Twitter, sharing interesting content, not just Philips related, but also to kind of use it to share interesting leadership, management, and HR related content with others. Apart from this, each of us is individually also very active on Twitter. So if you go to the Philips HR Twitter account, you'll see a list managed by the account called HR team, so that you'll see there are around approximately 70 people from Philips who are active on Twitter and who are sharing in their own personal capacities, essentially also to kind of understand, while this is a corporate account, also showcasing, hey, we are also real people and there are other interests. So our colleagues Mansoor and Arman and others will talk about football and F1 and cricket also. So you essentially, it humanizes the whole organization and the HR team out there. And of course, we also are supported by our marketing and other business related folks when they become active on Twitter. Talk about two specific initiatives. I'll hand the mic back to Zenobia.
So just wanted to pick, off the many initiatives that we've done in the past, say a year and a half, wanted to pick up a couple of them that we did using social media, just to give you an insight about how effective this medium is if leveraged correctly. So Campus Journos is one such initiative that we did a little earlier on this year, where we began with a business need. So our need was, we said, how do we ensure that amongst all the business schools that we regularly visit each year, when the new first-year students come in, we create a buzz and a mind space where Philips is on top of the mind for all the new business school students who have just walked in. So what we decided, so that was the business case or the business need that we identified, and we said, okay, let's try and see how best we can do this. So this concept of Campus Journos was completely designed and executed in-house, by the HR team at Philips, where we came up with this idea where we said, okay, let's throw out a competition out there. Let's leverage social media because the reach is just fantastic through social media. So we gave a simple competition where we gave the students a topic every week. They had to send in their entries. It could be in the form of a write-up or a video or a blog or a picture. It could be in any format. They had to submit it, to us. We decided to host this competition on a WordPress account, and they had to submit it. They had a week to make their entry viral, in the sense that they could, share their entry with their colleagues and their families and friends, and get people to endorse them. And the top 10 entries every week won exciting prizes from Philips. So we could have done this, on any other forum using Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, but our intent here was the overall opportunity to reach out to these students, and the medium that we chose, which was a WordPress account, and we chose it basis the most effective way of reaching out to everyone. So this is an example. Campus Journos got a huge response. In terms of a few highlights, the competition ran for 3 weeks. We had more than 2 lakh visits to the Campus Journos, WordPress account or website in those 3 weeks, which is something we would have never been able to do had we gone, offline or organically or, via posters, etc., to campuses. Also, without social media, there was no way we could have reached, multiple business schools for this initiative without pumping in a lot of money. So Campus Journos got a huge response. We got over 500 entries over the 3 weeks. This also And what we did is, while we hosted the competition on WordPress, we actually used Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn to kind of spread the word about it. So we would, when entries would come in, we would leverage our, corporate Facebook page as well as our Twitter handle, which is HR Phillips, and we also shared posts on LinkedIn to kind of help these participants spread the word, and they would do it themselves, and then hence their network would, get visibility that Philips is hosting such a competition, and this also indirectly helped us get new fans, etc., on our Facebook page. But the intent clearly was, how do we, build the Philips employer brand and keep it top of mind, for the new batch that comes in. So this is just a small example how social media helped us without putting in too much, financial investment, without, having to go, to an external partner to actually help us manage something so huge. It was, a team of passionate people who designed the idea, came up with it, executed it very passionately, and we got some great response, not just from students, from, the campuses, because they were excited. A lot of the campus handles started following our HR Twitter handle, and also families. So we also had a lot of students' families, who got to know via social media and Facebook and Twitter that such a competition was happening, and that Philips was taking this interest along with students. So that's Campus Journos for you. The second initiative that I'd like to share with you...
I'd just like to kind of point out
sure.
to the people on the call that the three themes that we ran in each of the weeks was related to a business area that Philips operates in. So, for example, we have three business sectors that we operate in: healthcare, lifestyle, and lighting. So the themes that the students had to put their stories on were related to these three business sectors. It's also probably the whole focus, therefore, was to kind of reiterate the businesses that we operate in, as opposed to the legacy views that most people have about what Philips used to do around TVs and radio and semiconductors. So we also use this to kind of reinforce how Philips has changed and the sectors that we therefore operate in. I just thought I'll spell that out, Zinnovia.
Thanks so much, Gautam, for that. So moving on, sharing with you another initiative, which was, so Blueprint is our campus case study competition that we run on business school campuses, across the schools that we visit in India. And last year, Blueprint was the first year when Blueprint was done, and we got a great response from the campus. And this year, when we took Blueprint to the next level, we actually leveraged social media in a big way to kind of once again help us spread the word about Blueprint and create excitement, and also give the students a platform to express their experience about interacting with Philips for these few months that they were participating in this competition. So what we decided to do this year was, use Facebook as a medium where they could register for the competition. This also helped us, get the virality, because if a student would register for Blueprint, his peer network, which is the students or his friends in other schools, would also get to know that Blueprint is happening, and those interested could actually also join us and register for the event. We also then realized that of all the social media options that we had, if we look at the target group for this initiative, which is business school students, they are most active on Facebook amongst all the other social media platforms. And hence Blueprint, we decided to kind of use Facebook as the main medium, where we would share all updates, our students to interact. We would put up posters of the winning teams. We would give them information about Philips, put up videos and, testimonials from last year's participants. Try to give them as much information that they would like to have about the organization and about the competition via Facebook, and use the other social media platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google Plus to kind of amplify the efforts. So this year, we again received a record number of entries, and we just concluded Blueprint national finals earlier this week at our corporate headquarters in Gurgaon. And we had on Twitter, we had created a hashtag. For those of you who may not be very familiar with Twitter, a hashtag basically helps you track conversations around that topic regarding anyone who's talking about that topic on Twitter. So we created a blueprint hashtag. And just on the final day, normally whatever excitement that we would do for the finals would be constrained to, us as an organization and all our employees and leaders who would participate in it, as well as, the few 25 odd participants that would come for the finals. But this year, thanks to the hashtag, we were actually, spreading the word in terms of sharing updates on which team were presenting, what were the great innovations that were being proposed to us. And the hashtag just on the final day helped reach over 39,000 Twitter accounts on Twitter. So it helped us as an employer, share with a larger audience through social media, what was happening around the finals. There was a lot of excitement. The students, who were participating in the finals, their colleagues were actually linked up on Twitter and Facebook, actually following updates and getting to know what's happening and, when the finals are over and when are we going to announce results, etc. And social media, once again, through this, while the competition remained, how we wanted it to, in terms of just spreading the word about it, providing a platform to students to express themselves, reach out to us on a more real-time basis, and, also give an opportunity for the larger industry to actually get to know what's happening. The various social media platforms actually very effectively helped us spread the word about Blueprint. So we thought these are two initiatives, that we'll just share with you. Of course, these were focused towards campus students, and then some of the others that Gautam spoke about earlier regarding our TA Partners Meet, similarly Philips HR Talks, and, the Fly initiative that we do are, again, initiatives in employer branding targeted towards different talent segments. And we try and ensure we leverage social media wherever appropriate to kind of add to the efforts that we are doing around, projecting Philips as a great place to work, for people who are interested in considering us. So I think with that, we would like to end, what we had to share with you from our end. We really look forward to open the floor now for questions, and both Gautam and I will be happy to answer and share our insights on anything that's on your mind regarding what we shared or any other, questions around this area on leveraging social media for employer branding.
And Gautam, we have received a couple of questions already, and I request our participants to please share me the questions on the question and answer tab once again. So to start with the questions, we have Jaya, who has asked, what are the examples of organizations that have a strong employer brand across the industries?
I think conglomerates like GE or the Tata Group have employer brand that is an umbrella employer brand that cuts across the various industries that they operate in, because they stand for certain kind of values. Speaking for Philips itself, Philips stands for things like meaningful innovation, and it is respective over three sectors across the businesses that we operate in. So there are strong employer brands that cut across industries also. But yes, to specifically attract a certain talent segment, you need to get down and talk to what attracts that talent to that specific industry.
Would you like to add on something, or shall I throw the next question on to you?
Sure. Just a small addition. In addition to what Gautam shared, there are a lot of organizations who come up with a very attractive EVP. So, for example, Google stands for Do Cool Things That Matter. Similarly, Microsoft, and there are a lot more organizations who have very simply, through a very attractive tagline, brought about the core of who they are, what they do, and what they would like to stand for. So you can look them up. A lot of career sites would have them. You will see them in a lot of their communication, branding, etc. So there are lots of organizations who have focused in this area, and coming up with an EVP, is a complete robust and rigorous process. So a lot of organizations have done it, and you'll get to see a lot more of this if you just look them up.
We have another question. What difference in how SMB and multinational can leverage social media for employer branding?
I think pros and cons to both. One is it depends on what the challenges for the SMB are. If the SMB does not have very well known, for example, say if you are a pharmaceutical company which is operating out of one location, and the thing is, using social media, you can really get your messaging to your target talent group without really taking recourse to traditional, as we said, traditional media spend. So, of course, there are some investments that organization will need to make around, paid media on social itself, like advertising, etc. If you want to really be known as focusing on where you want to target them. The other thing is, if you really think from the outside in, think about what would your talent really require to know. So if you're, same example, if you're a pharmaceutical firm and if you create a LinkedIn group and say of B.Pharm students and or B.Pharm professionals and say, hey, what is happening in the pharmacy industry, what are your expectations from employers, what is your expectation from your career, have conversations around that, but clearly brand it in the name of your organization. What will happen is people will have conversations and you will get insights as to what your talent really cares about, and there'll be a positive rub-off and effect on your brand itself, because people will say, hey, here's an organization that is not talking to us but rather listening to us by leveraging a LinkedIn group or a Facebook group or any community of practice. The other thing is you will get insights as to what the talent will search for. And for small and medium businesses, what you can do is really showcase your subject matter experts. People might not be very willing to work for an unknown employer brand, but if you have a scientist with X number of patents in that field and build him up as or a CEO or your co-founders and build their expertise and showcase them, people would like to work for individuals. And that is where an SMB can really leverage the power of social media by saying, hey, these are the people that make us. Would you like to work for people like these? And that, I think, is where small and medium businesses can really take the talent game to MNCs. And of course, MNCs, we have enough examples of things that they have done on social media. The thing is, they've already got a brand image, whether positive or negative. People do know about them, and therefore the conversation is much easier to start. But yes, creatively thinking, SMBs can start off in what I would call guerrilla marketing. Savita, I'm getting some specific chat requests on whether the slides would be available to participants. Would you like to answer that?
If we could share that, definitely, if you'd permit us to do so. We'd be happy to share that with them.
Great.
So I'll take the next question in that case. We have another question wherein, are the key employer branding initiatives leveraged by HR or in collaboration with marketing teams?
Zenobia, you'd like to take that?
Yeah. Sure. So I think I'll share with you, so this is a much talked upon topic in terms of who should be the custodian of the employer brand. And I'll share with you the way we go about it at Philips and a little bit about what we've heard in most organizations. So there is no right or wrong answer. At Philips, we very closely work with our corporate communications as well as our marketing team, and we are joint custodians of the employer brand. So any initiative that we do, depending on the nature of the initiative, it could be front-end by either one of us. It could be HR or the marketing team or corporate communications, but then we work closely as a team and give inputs to ensure our best foot goes forward in terms of our employer branding efforts. And regarding discussions that have happened, and research shows that it is most effective when the three come together, and it's not just front-ended by either marketing or HR or corporate communications, but when most people come together, all three of these, and actually work together in terms of employer branding. There have been organizations who have been successful, having said that, by even having one of the three front-ended. So I think it's really about what works for you, what kind of an organization you are, and seeing how best you can put your best foot forward in this space.
Would you like to add in a few points in there? Would you like to add in a few points there, or shall I move to the next question?
The other thing is, interestingly, not just for employer branding, we also partner with our corporate communication and marketing teams in the corporate communication and marketing initiatives also. So these days, it's not just about us getting support from them. They also get support because, let's face it, we are the most social group within the organization. So if they need messaging around the overall Philips brand being relaunched worldwide, etc., we've also kind of supported their efforts. It works both ways.
Absolutely.
So, another question, as in, how is change management handled in here? I'll explain the question a little more. As in, when an organization plans to transition from a classical HR practice to a social media initiative, so how is the change management handled there?
I think that is crucial is leadership support, and that way we've been very lucky with our head of HR, Yashwant Mahadik, really believing in the power of social to benefit not just talent acquisition, but all the various parts of HR. So we are also looking at how social can impact employee recognition, how social can impact employee communications, as well as learning and development, and some interesting projects are underway, which we can't share right now. But yes, I think change management is becomes easier when there is leadership support and driven by leadership, and therefore, within HR also, some of us have been early adopters, and some of us are still kind of getting hang of social and what exactly to talk about. And it's not just within HR. Yash has also kind of this within the overall India leadership team, so encouraging the rest of the top leaders also to become more socially savvy, and also to figure out the traditional ways of marketing, etc. How do we leverage? So we've made also specific hires over the last 4-5 months to also look at the other aspects of the organization and how digital and social impacts them. So it's not just, it can't be done in a silo. There's systems, processes, and people. All the three need to be impacted to really help the organization become social. The good news is at a global level also, Philips is looking at making this journey, so it becomes easy for us as a India entity to, be a part of that and learn from them also. And there are things like tools, etc., become easy because there's a global license and we don't need to go out and buy specific resources just for our own selves. So we interestingly have used the internal social network to get connected to the worldwide digital and social media teams, share learnings. We had I, for example, connected with the internal community manager and put him in touch with an external resource who took a session for around 70 Philips employees who run various internal communities worldwide on the basics of community management. So all this is kind of becomes critical when we are talking to each other, and all the parts need to move. If just one part moves, the change will not be actually sustainable and lasting.
Yeah.
Genevieve, please.
Sorry, and I just wanted to make a small addition. Our experience has also been that when you start on with the journey with social media, don't expect to get it all right, because this is a space where you need to understand it, and it's okay to make mistakes. So even when we got onto it, with some of us being eager early adopters and some being more a little cautious, we began with some of us trying a few things. We were successful with some initiatives, some were not as successful, and then it is those small wins that you make that give you also the confidence that you can do it, and then you want to try larger initiatives, and that those small wins and certain initiatives being successful also then helps getting some more who were maybe on the fence tilt more towards, okay, this looks good and this is effective, and let us also get into it and start exploring the place. So I think from our learning, the only recommendation we would make is start making an effort, start getting into the space. Only then will you start realizing the benefits. And it's okay for some things not to work out. That's the way we all learn.
Now, further to both your answers right now, there's a question I think that's going to add further. How can companies that are not consumer-facing create a vibrant employer brand on social media?
I don't think so. As long as your talent is active on social media, you don't need to be a B2B or a B2C brand. So, for example, we are looking at hiring, say, a certain kind of talent, which is health people who are able to sell healthcare solutions to large hospitals. If they are active on social media, we can, the whole innovations in health group is an example. We need to get them into a community and then figure out their concerns, what they are looking for in employers, communicate to them things that we are doing in that domain, and showcase our experts. And therefore, it really is not a function of what we are in the marketplace, but what we are as an employer that actually makes an impact.
Thanks. To add in bit there?
Not really. I think Gautam has covered it.
Okay, brilliant. We have another question which reads, how do you rationalize social goals externally with access to social media inside the organization?
I didn't understand that.
How do you rationalize social goals externally with access to social media inside the organization?
So in Philips, we have access to all social networks from the organization, and we also have an internal social network. So we don't really, restrict employees from accessing Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn during the course of the work. So yes, an organization, if it wants to leverage social, needs to believe in both the power and believe in its employees to do the right thing by making access possible. The other thing is organizations that don't realize it probably don't even think about it, but half the time I am accessing Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn using my mobile. So it really, it's not, I'm not dependent on the company LAN or company network to access it. So also to understand that, in today's day and age, with tablets and mobile phones being what they are, people will access social networks. Restricting access might actually impact the company's image, while people might crib and while not take the company's name, people will talk about it privately.
Right. We have another question. How do you assess whether your efforts are creating the brand you want, the brand you need?
Sure. So there are a few ways in terms of measuring the impact of what you do. And especially if you're looking at it specifically, initiative-wise. So let me take the bigger one. So of course, there are larger forums if you were to look as an organization in terms of we've been putting efforts behind employer branding and is it really paying results? You would look at a few things. You could look at participating in some of these industry-wide surveys like, the best places to work, by Hewitt, great places to work, etc., where, you get an opportunity to participate in a very well-structured competition where both, your employee feedback as well as some of the initiatives that you do are benchmarked against other participating best-in-class organizations, and you really get to see where you stand. In addition, there are, of course, other matrices like if you're capturing, if you want to look at some of your HR processes, if you're capturing through your internal employee surveys in terms of what the people think about the brand and do they take pride in the place where they work, would they recommend it as a great place to work. So these are some parameters within your internal employees engagement surveys where also you can gauge in terms of whether you're making the right headways. In addition, there are smaller things. You could look at the impact of certain initiatives that you do. And depending on, why you did the initiative in the first place, so what was the overall objective, and then in the end, whether, you've moved the needle or whether what you've done has actually helped you, raise the bar. There are other things like, candidate feedback. So for your entire hiring process, you can look at, so we, for example, in Philips, look at NPS, which is your Net Promoter Score, which we not just look at from candidates, we also look at NPS scores from hiring managers and recruiters to ensure, overall, how has the experience been of everyone who participate in the recruiting process. And are we ensuring that the scores go up every time? And in case there's a dip, we look into the reasons why it has dipped and, take the necessary corrective measures. So depending on the initiative, these are a few things that you could look at in terms of measuring the impact of your employer brand. Of course, there are some of the other external forums as well, like Glassdoor, etc., like we shared, where employees, without you having a say in it, talk about your organization and rate you on various parameters, which can also help, you get a sense of what people think of you and what are the areas where you may want to look into.
I understand we have crossed 12. We have many more questions. We'll take one last question. If a company wants to start investing in employer branding, what is the ideal percentage that should be allocated from the total budget?
Okay, so if I would...
Yeah, go ahead, Janavia, sorry.
Go ahead. Okay. So I don't think, we can put a number on an ideal percentage in terms of what you could contribute to the employer branding, budget vis-a-vis the overall budget, because we would need to look at a lot of other things in terms of, what is the strength of the employer brand existing in the market of that particular organization and what is your desired outcome and things like that. And of course, the bigger the budget, the more you can do. So I don't think there is, a number or a percentage that I could recommend, and I may not be the expert in this area, but I think it is about identifying, if you are making a start, it is about identifying your as-is situation, where you are, what are some of the things that you would like to make a change or that you would like to, showcase to the rest of your talent groups, and then look at, what are the kind of investments you would need. And the only other thing that I'd like to say is employer branding is not a short-term thing. Efforts have to be made consistently over a period of time to actually reap results, in the long term. So, if you are planning to, get into and focus on employer branding, be committed to it for a longer term, and you can, put together a roadmap in terms of the kind of investments you would like to have year on year to kind of amplify your efforts as you start making progress in this space.
Yeah. Gautam, you were saying something that time.
The other thing is, earlier employer branding was an expensive proposition, but with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of ideation and being open to experimentation, something like what we did in campus Journos, with combining your offline communication models and then leveraging the power of social, you can actually do it very, very economically. So that's the other thing that needs to be taken into account, saying which is the talent segment that you're looking at, are they active on social, and how do you engage with them creatively that is interesting to them, tells your story as to who you are, and how does it make sense to who they want to be working with. And I think that is what is important to figure out. Budgets, if they are actually available on social and engaged, then budgets can be really very low. It's all up to creativity and experimentation.
And Genovia, we have many more questions, honestly, which is right appearing on my screen at the moment. But I think for the time, we'll have to cut this with this question. So with this, we'll wrap up today's webinar. But before we end the session, I would like to inform you that we have the Talent Acquisition Full Day Annual Conference and Awards Night on the 4th of December in Mumbai. So request all of you to please to register online and connect with us to block your seats. Once again, I'd like to thank our webinar principal partner, CEB's SHL Talent Measurement Solution, and knowledge partner, Knowledge and RPO partner, People Strong, and associate partner, Cornerstone On Demand. Finally, a special thanks to Genovia and Gautam, our speakers for today, for their time and invaluable information that you shared with us today. I would like to also thank everybody who has been audience and very putting across very interesting questions and participating in today's presentation. We are sure to come back with many such more. Thank you so much, and we'll conclude today's webinar right now. Thank you.
Thank you.